Welcome back to the Hillbilly RV channel. So today's Tech Talk video is going to be on converters and inverters. What do they do? What's the difference between the two? How they work? We're going to go in depth on these things today. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope it clarifies some stuff for some people. So I just hope you enjoy this video. Here we go. Alright, so start with converter, okay? I guess every RV that's been built in the last 30 years, 40 years maybe, has a converter, okay? What does a converter do? A converter converts AC voltage, alternating current, into DC voltage, direct current. So the converter will convert 120 volt AC into 12 volt DC. The DC voltage in your RV is your controls on all of your appliances, your lights, awnings, slide motors, all that sort of thing runs on 12 volt DC. And when we say 12 volt DC, now this converter will put out close to 14 volts, but that's because it's charging your batteries as well. Not only will it run all these appliances, but it's charging the batteries. And if you have an RV that's set up permanent on a river lot or whatever like that, if you don't need to run the rooms in and out, you don't even need a battery in the system. Now the older campers, they did have to have a battery in the system because the converter only charged the batteries, and then the battery voltage came out of the battery to your fuse box. Now all the modern ones, like I say, unless you're going to use something that's a high amp draw like slide rooms, you don't even need a battery. And a matter of fact, I think it works better if you just take the battery out of the system. But now if you're traveling, or you're going here and staying for 3 or 4 nights, or going here and staying a night and moving on, yeah, then you got to keep your batteries in the system, because you're constantly running your rooms in and out, you're awning in and out and stuff like that. So, but now if you're set up permanent, you don't even need a battery. You just take it out of the system. You don't have to worry about it, because I think a lot of times the battery will go bad and it'll take out a converter. It'll ruin it. Here we have a modern converter. This is a brand new one. This is one that I got on my truck to sell, and usually they don't stay on the truck very long, because like everything else, these things nowadays are just not built like they used to be. Gosh, I've had some out of an old Airstream, from back in the 50s, and they didn't even call it a converter. They called it something else. Somebody leave me a comment. Let me know what they were called in these old Airstreams. But now that converter out of my Airstream was probably 4, 5, 6 times bigger than this, and it would weigh probably 50 pounds. Because it had a huge transformer in there with big, huge copper windings on that transformer. Now these are all electronic. There's a little bitty transformer in this, but it's nothing compared to them old ones. And now I told you I was going to explain to you exactly how this thing works. Okay, it's magic, true magic. Yeah, you're skeptical? Really? I can prove it. You say, Hillbilly, how can you prove it's magic? Well, watch here. I'm going to show it. I'm going to prove it to you. See the picture of the wizard on the front of that thing? That's the guy that's inside doing the magic. He's the one that takes AC voltage and turns it into DC voltage. I told you I knew exactly how these things work, and I could prove it. It's got a wizard in there. Like I said, this converter takes AC voltage, just plugs into a regular outlet. Either your camper will either have an outlet in the back of the converter, or it'll have an outlet run that just plugs in. Over here is your 12 volt connections right here. So you're going to have a positive and a negative. Nowadays this will go straight to your power distribution panel, and then from your power distribution panel it will go to the battery to charge the batteries. That's why I say you don't even need a battery in the system anymore. Now, one thing that a lot of people will miss when they're diagnosing a converter is these fuses. Those are anti-polarity fuses. Every converter, gosh, for probably a dozen years, have these anti-polarity fuses. Now, the only time that these fuses should blow is if you accidentally hook the wires up on your battery backwards. But I mean, you just touch the wires on the battery backwards, it'll pop these fuses, and all of a sudden you're getting no voltage out of this converter at all. You think the converter is bad, but no. You might just have a couple of 10-cent fuses bad, and now they don't make these things easy to get to. Because I mean, even out here, you can see, you might be able to see, they're halfway inside that case. And when you mount this thing in a camper somewhere where you have no access to this end, sometimes those fuses are virtually impossible to get to without taking this. Now, this is a deck mount converter, and you might have to take this thing loose from the deck, take these couple, 2-3 screws out, or you can spin this thing around to get those fuses. But now this is super common in like fifth wheels and motorhomes, and now a lot of your travel trailers, the converter will just be built into the bottom of your power distribution panel. They both serve the same purpose, just different configurations of the same thing. They all have the wizard doing the magic inside of them. Let's talk about inverters. What is an inverter? What does it do? An inverter inverts 12 volt DC power and produces 120 volt AC power. It does the exact opposite of what a converter does. And what's that for? Well, a lot of your RVs now have residential refrigerators. So residential refrigerator runs on 120 volt AC. So if you are driving down the road or you're dry camped, you have to run that refrigerator. So you will have an inverter that inverts the DC to AC power to run your residential refrigerators. It will run your microwave. Typically not the air conditioners, but it will run the microwave. Usually there's an outlet or two wired into it, like in the kitchen where you can make coffee or plug in a toaster oven or something like that. But it's unless you have a bunch of batteries, like let's say you have a motorhome that has a whole bank of batteries and has a really big inverter, that's not going to run long, in a travel trailer or a fifth wheel typically, because you only have 1 or 2 batteries to run this, and they won't last long inverting this power. Now motorhomes, they're a different story. You might have a whole bunch of solar and you have a bank of batteries. There's inverter systems out there that will run 2 air conditioners and run it continuously. If you have enough solar to keep the batteries charged and you have a big enough inverter, you can run whatever you want. When you start talking about solar systems, there's some big solar systems. This is the same technology that's used in a house. If you have put solar on your house, you're going to have a bank of batteries that the solar charges the batteries, and then you're going to have an inverter that will take that DC power and turn it into AC power, put it in your house to run stuff in your house, because everything in your house is AC powered. I know this actually confuses a lot of people. That's kind of why I've done so many videos on this type of thing, because it's a confusing system. Inverters, converters, what do they do? I mean, people call them the wrong thing all the time. I have people call and say, I think my inverter's bad. Well, what do you got? And, a little 28-foot travel trailer. I said, well, you probably have a converter. Well, whatever, it's bad. So if you have any questions, please leave me a comment down below, and I'll try to answer them. And if we get enough questions, maybe we'll do another video on these. I just don't know how much more I can do to cover these items, but I know this confuses a lot of people. And so there you go. Is that all Clear as mud now. Everybody got it? How's it work? Magic. Don't forget that. So, hey, I'm going to go up and fix another one, and y'all have a fantastic day.